height of the coronavirus pandemic in April, we reported on the devastating effect the crisis was having on organ transplants in the UK. A shortage of eligible donors and space in intensive care units meant the transplant programme was struggling to continue. Only the most urgent cases were going ahead, even they were under threat. We featured the story of Anna Rose Thorpe, who was waiting for a desperately needed liver transplant. A few weeks after our report, Anna Rose fell seriously ill. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes has been catching up with her story.
This is a window now of opportunity without the coronavirus, whilst my body could withstand the transplant.
This was Anna Rose in April. We met at the height of the coronavirus pandemic. She desperately needed a liver transplant, but COVID-19 meant organ donations and operations had ground to a halt.
The longer I leave it, I could just get sicker and sicker, and it is a matter of life and death.
Not long after this interview, Anna Rose's health quickly went downhill and she was admitted to hospital in Birmingham.
Anna came into the hospital at a time when we had kind of paused our transplant service. Coronavirus had a significant impact. There were about 2 weeks where we couldn't do a single liver transplantation, and it was worried times for us because we knew there are so many patients waiting for transplantation.
I was really worried that I wouldn't make it. I probably should have been preparing to speak to my family, and I couldn't bring myself to say goodbye. It wasn't something that I could do. I think you're accepting it then once you say it, and I wasn't ready to accept it.
She was in an extremely critical condition, and if she didn't have the transplant operation, I cannot say how long she would have survived, not for more than a few weeks.
But then, at the darkest time, some incredibly welcome news.
The coordinator and the surgeon himself came up to see me and said that they just had an offer and the donor was a match. It just felt like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders.
She was the first patient to be transplanted when we were about to restart the liver transplantation program. I did not have to think twice because Anna is a patient almost on the edge of her life. So for me, it was a no-brainer.
After a 9-hour operation, Anna Rose now has a fully functioning liver and a hefty scar.
I'm very proud of it.
From a near standstill at the height of the pandemic, transplants are now on the rise.
We still do not do the transplant numbers the same frequency that we used to. I'm glad that it is picking up now, but this is only the high-risk patients. There is an organ shortage at the moment, and that is going to affect the patients who are on the transplant wait list.
And the impact of coronavirus on donations and operations will have cost lives among those waiting for a new organ. Not every patient was as lucky as Anna Rose.
I'm just so happy and I'm so thankful for the doctors and nurses and surgeons and my donor. They're all my heroes and I wouldn't be here without them.
Dominic Hughes, BBC News.